Can you beat Fallout New Vegas on a touchscreen? I tested it, so you don't have to. Or maybe you will after watching this video and finding out the benefits and drawbacks of playing New Vegas entirely on a touchscreen interface. The rules are simple. Beat New Vegas using only a touchscreen interface on my daily driver phone, the iPhone 15 Pro. No controller, no game sir. Default settings of both the game and the controller interface. I'm Nikki. I make Fallout content here and everywhere, from maps to memes and everything in between. Be sure to check me out if you're into that kind of thing. I've been doing this for 12 years. Oof. I saw one of my mutuals, Mrs. Fallout, do an ad for Amazon's Luna Cloud Gaming, and this includes Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I immediately wanted to try this out when I saw it, which was from her for the first time, so W ad, Mrs. Fallout. This service is included with Amazon's subscription and can be upgraded for better wait times. This video is not sponsored, by the way. I just saw this and thought it would be a cool challenge to beat the game. So you don't necessarily need a controller or a backbone or a game sir or something similar. You could just play it with the touchscreen interface. And there's plenty of games built around touchscreen play, I'm well aware, but this game is from the 360/PlayStation 3 era of Fallout, and it was not designed with a touchscreen in mind, as you will find out from the rest of the video. The gameplay. So this does take up a substantial bit of screen real estate, and this is the first thing I noticed loading into the game, which was super quick, and I did not have a long wait time in the server. I did not feel like I needed to pay for the subscription service at any point. Immediately, I noticed the controls of the joystick were shockingly fast, both the camera and the movement. You move the camera around so quickly, it feels like you're whipping your head back and forth, or like the latency is way off on your mouse. That is exactly what it felt like. I wished I could change the latency for at least the camera movements, but you can't. Obviously, you have no resistance that you would have on a controller or even with a mouse or pressing down on a keyboard W button that you have sliding your fingers across glass on a phone. But beyond that, I felt like you moved through the world faster. Your character moved through space quicker than I was ever used to with Fallout New Vegas. It almost felt similar to adjusting your walking speed or your speed percentage in console commands while playing on PC, which I am known to do because New Vegas walking speed is slow. Not quite like sprinting in Fallout 4, but it did feel faster than base game New Vegas. Maybe my perception was altered because I was playing on such a teeny tiny screen, but I honestly think you were moving faster. So it presented a new little interesting learning curve between that and the camera that I wasn't necessarily expecting. But I snuggled down on my couch with my cats and got to work. I decided to do a speed run of Fallout New Vegas at this point because of the difficulty with controls right off the bat. Granted, it was something I adjusted to, but my mind immediately said, you're going to need to do a speed run and probably very little combat. Honestly, I think this is the key or the sauce, so the special thing that is needed in completing this application of New Vegas, again, for the sake of this challenge, touchscreen only. That or doing a VATS only run, which, let's be honest, a lot of people play Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas VATS only. It is an older game from Bethesda. It is not meant to be a shooter, really, in any way. Yes, it has shooting elements, but it's not a shooter that's even comparable with the games that were shooters of that time period. It's just not on the same level. It's a great game, but not on the same level, shooting-wise. Without a mouse or controller where you lack a trigger, the combat is so challenging. When you're playing with just two thumbs on a touchscreen, it adds a huge wrench in combat, as opposed to playing with two thumbs and maybe your index fingers on a controller. Some people play with their index and ring finger for the trigger and LB/RB. I don't play that way, but I do use the back paddles on the Pro controller, or playing with AWSD and your mouse on a keyboard. Totally different to just play with two fingers, and those fingers are thumbs, which I don't know about you, my thumbs are slower than the rest of my fingers. I play on PC and on console equally, for both reasons. Typically, I'm leisure playing on a console and I'm creating content on my PC, and I don't have a strong preference one way or the other, so I'm used to both controls. But playing with just your thumbs on a touchscreen is so much more difficult than either playing on your computer or playing on a console. But I personally love the challenge of a speedrun in especially these older Fallout games because it is something that you can do that's kind of new. It's a new way of playing, especially since I've played these games hundreds and hundreds of times. So with that in mind, I maxed out my speech as fast as possible for the first hour of play, and I also took the shortcut that I've been learning from doing my Fallout mapping project, from Good Springs to get to the Strip faster. Actually, not to the Strip, initially through Camp McCarran via the Black Mountain shortcut. It's a great shortcut because you pass an NCR soldier, you can pick up his revolver. We'll talk about using the revolver a little later. And you can also pick up his armor, so you can take the monorail in Camp McCarran over to the Strip without having to do any of the free side quests or get a passport or have a credit check or anything. You can just go straight to Vegas. And then you get over to the Strip and you could go to the tops, and if you're like me, level up 7 times in a row. I think it was 7, it may have been 6, but I seriously got inside the tops and leveled up and leveled up and leveled up and leveled up, and that is when I maxed my speech out and I had my first hour of gameplay in the bag. After the hour, I felt like it was going really well. Not a single crash. A shock to a longtime New Vegas player is not having a crash within at least the first couple of hours, if not first hour of gameplay. Granted, I play on a potato of a PC, but I also play on a console, and I also experience crashing there as well. So it was really nice not to have either of that. Whatever system you're cloud gaming from seems to be working a lot more efficiently than my own computer or even Xbox Series X. I decided at this point, since it was going so well and I was getting a little cocky, that I would test out the dash glitch of the revolver, and to my surprise, it worked. I mean, it works on PC and it works on Xbox, so it wasn't too surprising that it worked, considering it's a PC setup essentially you're playing from, but it was exciting to see it work well on a touchscreen, especially when you're doing a speedrun of New Vegas. Yes, I did use the revolver glitch in this playthrough because it's part of the game. They haven't patched it, so why not? At this point, I noticed I loaded back into the game and it said controller disconnected. A warning I've gotten a few times going back in it to collect videos for this video as well, where it disconnects from your controller and everything you see on screen, not the touchscreen interface, but the buttons you see on screen, change over to what would be represented on a keyboard. For example, pressing E to select. This is not what it would say on a controller. It would say something like press X or whatever button is on the controller you're playing on. This was odd, again, considering I had no controller connected beyond the touchscreen interface itself, and if you didn't have the action mapping memorized of a controller, you might forget what button does what, like pressing what button to select or interact with an object or whatever. It added a little bit of confusion for a second, but then muscle memory kicked in, and it was fine. I just kept chugging along. The gameplay was shockingly easy, and I beat the game in under 2 hours. I felt like the speed with which I moved through the game helped me beat it faster. I'd never done a no recorded kill playthrough. Granted, I did use the Black Widow perk on Benny to take him out nice and easy, and I was doing a speed run involving doing the wildcard ending. If you're ever wanting to do a speed run of New Vegas, the wildcard ending is easily the best one for this purpose. But it was fine, and I didn't have any issues, and I was shocked to see that no recorded kill at the very end, and I was like, I guess I didn't. But that more reflects on how difficult the gameplay is, which we will get into in the bads section of this video. Again, walking speed was fast, so I felt like that helped my playtime, and I was surprised at how easy it was to beat Fallout New Vegas on such a tiny screen with just a touchscreen with just my thumbs in under 2 hours. The bads. The game is not meant to be played on a touchscreen, obviously. It came out in 2010, and Fallout 3 came out in 2008, nearly 14 and 16-year-old games, respectively. The keyboard controller issue was also odd. It seemed like a bit of a glitch, but if you didn't know the controller, it might add extra issues, like not having the action mapping memorized, but it was just kind of an odd bug that kept coming up. Maybe it could present more problems down the road or for a different game where you don't know the controls, but overall, it wasn't the worst thing. Combat, however, is the worst thing in this application. Not to say you can't beat it, because I did it, but if you want to beat it with combat, it's a bigger learning curve. The very few times I attempted combat, granted, I was at a very low level because I was doing a speed run. I think I maxed out at level 9. It was bad. The combat was bad. I was getting messed up by the smallest things because you have to remember you're playing with just your thumbs, and then you have to take one thumb off from moving your character to press the attack button, which if you were playing on your keyboard or on a controller, you just press your index finger on the controller or click on the mouse, and it's less of a problem. You don't have to lift up any finger to do it and change the position or compromise looking somewhere or walking somewhere to press a button. So it was really hard. It was near impossible. And other creators who've tested this out have basically said the same, which is unsurprising, but it was disappointing. I would have loved to do more combat, but there's a very simple solution to that. Use a controller. For the purposes of this challenge, we did not, but that's not to say this is a bad service. It's just touchscreen is not it for it. Now, of course, you could do a VATS only run, and I did attempt a VATS a few times to not that much success. Granted, again, I was at low level, but the thing I was running into was the LB and RB buttons were teeny tiny, so it was kind of hard to press those on screen. I was not wearing these nails at the time, just full disclosure, but I could do it in nails too. You can use a touchscreen in nails in case you're wondering, but they were just really small to press, which added some challenges. The solution we all know, use a controller. Plug in a controller. Yes, it connects to a controller. Yes, it connects to a game server, which plugs into your phone, or I'm imagining it would work with Backbone. I just don't have one. You can't idle for too long or it will kick you. It'll kick you right out and you'll have to load back in. So if you didn't save, that could be a problem. You don't access this service through their app. You access it through a web app that you save to your home screen of your phone. At least that's how it worked on iPhone, and I thought that was a little odd. I'm wondering if the Android version is better. I might test it on my old Z Fold just to see how it goes, because it is a big screen and it is nice for mobile gaming for that reason, but it was a little odd to go into their Luna app and see that the cloud gaming wasn't even a part of it. Maybe that's something they'll update in the future. What's interesting about the Luna app is it's a way of connecting remote controllers to your phone, and or even having a controller touchscreen for like your Xbox or something. Again, you would have all those touchscreen interface limitations, but it is what the app seems to be set up to do. The interface takes up a lot of screen real estate, there's no doubt about it, and it does idle out during dialogue, where it becomes a little more see-through and a little less hard to see on screen. It's not really a problem beyond combat, but again, the combat itself is a problem, so I really didn't run into issues with it. But overall, this was a good experience. I did not have a bad time with it. The good. Literally no crashing. Not one. Granted, I played for less than 2 hours, but honestly on my PC I would probably crash within that time period. I am running on a potato, but still, it was such a nice experience to not have a crash or an infinite load screen, as so many of us longtime New Vegas players are familiar with, where the music just keeps playing and you just sit there listening to it. Big Iron, it's a good radio station, but none of that. It ran so smoothly. The load screens were seconds, if not less, for loading into smaller world spaces, which was really cool. Like if you're going into a Pioneer Saloon or some other small shop, it would be like that, not a problem. It let me move through the game in this smooth and seamless experience beyond the combat, which was really cool. Better than on Xbox Series X or even my PC, which is kind of crazy to say that my phone streaming this on a touchscreen was still a better, smoother gameplay experience than either of those things, which I play with all the time, so that was really cool. The walking speed was definitely fast, at least in my perception, maybe in reality, maybe because it's so small, but it felt so fast, and I really liked that style of gameplay, of moving quicker. I wish we had a speed dash in the game that wasn't a glitch, but we don't, so it was nice to have a faster, at least perceived, walking speed. It was the first time in a long time I have had a new experience with a Fallout game specifically. Obviously, we just had the Fallout show, but it was really cool to have this new experience and to challenge myself in a new way and to do a different style playthrough and then inadvertently accidentally do a first for myself, which is a no-kill playthrough. It was cool to do that. Granted, you lacked like achievements, at least it appeared. I didn't get any pop-ups of new achievements or anything like that, so it would have been cool to see those kind of things. But it was still a really cool way of moving through New Vegas in a new way for the first time in a long time. Like, I've played this game hundreds of times, so that was really cool. And obviously this is accessible to people who can't afford a PC or a console. This and the other thing that Amazon's doing with Fire TV Stick cloud gaming, it pretty much seems like the same setup, is just two ways that you can play these games that you might not have been able to if you can't afford those devices. Now, again, I know people are probably going to say, but Nikki, smartphones are a luxury. At this point, you can get smartphones for a little bit over $100. Obviously, you can play this with a controller, and I highly recommend you do, or even a Games or a Backbone or some equivalent, and get a better experience, like a far better experience, and a mobile experience, which is really cool. I have a Games, so I'm excited to play this as like a mobile game when I'm on the go, because it's cool to play as a mobile game. I don't have the money for a Steam Deck, so this was really exciting for me. And it worked better than Xbox Cloud Gaming, which is probably why my GameSir is getting almost no action lately, because my Xbox Cloud Gaming is just kind of a bad experience. I don't know how it's integrated with Amazon, but whatever they're doing it better than Xbox's setup, so that was really nice. And you don't need to own the games. They have a library available that you can just play right now, which is pretty cool. And of course, Fallout's on there. With the success of the show, it does make sense. I stayed connected with very little issues. No issues, actually. And it seems like it would be cool if you're traveling or camping. If you had a good connection, you could definitely use this, which is pretty neat. I wanted to test it in my car camp setup, but I couldn't because I beat the game too fast. But it would be a cool thing to test if you, like me, can't touch grass even while camping. Conclusions. This particular game is not meant to be played on a touchscreen. Let's not beat around the bush. It is not. But if you're a longtime player of the game and want a new challenge or a new experience, this is the thing for you. It's pretty cool. And, of course, if you don't want to do that, you can just play it with a controller, and it works fantastic, in my opinion, better than Xbox Cloud Gaming. I don't understand how or why, but it is. And I personally do think if this is the first time you're playing a Fallout, keep it to a TV or a computer screen. It's a better experience. But if you played it before, have at it. If you have Amazon, I do think it's really worth testing out, and at least checking out their library, because there's a lot of stuff on there. And with a controller, there's no issues. But if you want the challenge of a touchscreen, it is fun, and I do recommend it. But I really enjoyed making this video. I didn't really think it would be this fast, but it was. So I definitely have more that I want to do with this, and maybe I'll test them out over on Shorts. If you like this kind of content, be sure to sub and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I post a variety of Fallout content and other games occasionally on all of these platforms. The key catch here is I don't post the same thing on every platform. I have a different style depending on what platform you go to, so if you want to catch everything, check out everywhere. But I understand if you're anti one of those platforms. Whatever, that's fine with me. I am working on another video about vehicles in Fallout. Fallout After, I will have a Fallout mapping project update. There's a lot going on with that right now. And then I have a mod for Fallout New Vegas that I really just need to make a video about and publish. So those are coming down the way. But until then, stay safe in the wasteland, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!